I actually thought I might be done doing these simply because, um, how much interconnected data or information that we experience, thus become aware of and share with others, that has any kind of value or relevance to others. Because the truth is that when you think of a different aspect in the all creation, then other beings experience who they are, which is not the same as, say, who I am. See, so I can't speak for them. Only they can speak for who they are, that we thus become aware of what their experience that we learn from, the same as they learn from us what we learn as a result of being in the all creation together. Because we're all connected. That's why I give love to the all creation. I am one with all creation that I give love to. That's pretty straightforward, right? I've been hammering that since I was 4 years of age. Doesn't change. It means you simply know who you are in energy with your soul and the essence of your spirit, right? And that makes it relatively easy, even when you're a small child, to measure everybody else that you become aware of in your mirror. What is the energy they're running on? What is their vibration? What is their core state of being? Who are they? Right? So I was just thinking about, actually, it's mostly what we feel in our heart, which is how deeply we love and have compassion and empathy for others, because empathy is really defined by experiencing who they are in energy based on who we are in our energy. So the difference between the two can be measured with your antenna, which is frequency modulation. You're modulating your stereo receiver and transmitter to want to be in a state of balance, or if you will, clear the distortions. So my spirit is dancing with the waves that feel so good because they're so peaceful and beautiful to feel, experiencing the music of a goddess, right? Which is Mama Nature. So that's why they put all their antennas up, because they don't want you experiencing her music that way, to be in peace, love, harmony, and balance. Okay, because then they can't make any money on you. Right? So that's where the song with Rush meant they're salesmen. Okay, see, a corporation, okay, even if you perceive it in historical terms through their own books about what a monarch is, a king with a crown, say with a queen, and they're rulers. What is a ruler? It's a measuring stick, right? A ruler, when I was a child growing up, you had the little plastic box. It was like a long plastic little rectangle, thin, probably, a couple inches across, had a little plastic sliding lid, right, that was built in, and would have a pencil in there, shorter rulers in there. It would have a little cheap-ass compass in there, right? And so this is what children were starting with, right? To understand measurements, geometry, right? To be able to design something, if you will. So if you plug the monarch into all this, right? A ruler, it means you have rule-based functions. What is the function of a king? Rule over its what? Slave batteries, because they represent energy batteries. So the energy batteries are working on behalf of a rule, and the rule is obey me. Okay? So if you translate that through, the easiest way to do it in modern times is Nazi Germany. If you began to realize that it was all the families, like take a look at the Krupp family, for example. What happened at the end of World War II? Okay? These are war machine families. Because if I have 1,000 slave batteries that are working on my farm, my ranch, my land, the lord of the land, the landlord, okay, then everything that they do with the use of their energy is on my behalf. Now I become stronger because now their energy is being used to make me stronger, because now I'm reaping the benefits of the use of my slaves, which are on that plantation or are in that factory. So Krupp was a big, what we call, magnet, okay, because they had so much wealth that they had gained over many generations of that family bloodline. So if you had a pharaoh or a king whose seed was represented by that bloodline, then he would naturally want to perpetuate what he is, because he sees the power and the perception through what he is in energy to pass that seed on in order to reproduce more of what he is, the seed that's represented by what he is. Okay, so the perception of their power is to breed more, so that from that bloodline there will always be a king, okay, a predator. So the wealth gets transferred from one generation to the next to his children, okay? And so now you have the method by which, off of others that have souls, become the source of power, which is the source of batteries, upon which that particular family now has an enormous amount of wealth to do what? Build armies, build factories that do what? Build war machines. Now they have a bigger army with larger slaves that are in the business of acquiring energy to build a bigger empire. That's the Empire Strikes Back. That's the Dark Empire. The perception of power is using the power of others in order to make them more powerful. That's a vampire. That's a corporation. Okay, I worked for a number of them, whether it was McDonnell Douglas, whether it was Northrop, whether it was Lockheed, Grumman, Boeing, SAS, Raytheon, all them folks. Okay, so even as a small child reading through my father's trade journals, working in aeronautical engineering, it was obvious that there were millions of people on this planet that were working for military corporations, where the guy that was during the 1920s spelled it right out. War is a racket. Okay? Going to war against others is a racket. So how do you end war-making corporations? Right? Because it's a violation of the highest code of conduct, which is the law of one. Because a corporation is a corpus. It's a fiction. Okay? It doesn't honor the highest code of honor. I mean, even those whose my heart and compassion goes out to everybody that wears a uniform on behalf of the light, if you will, okay, means that I can remember a time when Patty Broussard talked about, oh, you have no idea what's going on down there in those dumps with those children in those cages. And they have to go down there and face that and experience that trauma. Okay? They're experiencing that in their mirror. Okay? So they're experiencing in their mirror, willing to do that, the trauma they're experiencing in their own mirror as a result of the war that's taking place between seeded races. So at some point in time, when do those that have become part of a military corporation say, I'm done with this? I'm on board with the law of one, so that I don't have to experience any more of this ever again. So how many units of energy of consciousness would agree with that? Okay? Because one of the most upsetting things that I was aware of when I was a child, studying not just the Nazis, but the entire military complexes on this entire planet, of the interconnectedness that we have, because the first measurement that's made when I was out of my mother's womb was realizing you're in a war zone, you're on a spiritual battlefield. So my consciousness realized it was shrunk, like down to the size of a pea. So that gives you a scale measurement of what you're normally accustomed to, which means I'm not supposed to experience anything less than what I am, which is what pure light is, which is a purifier, because the amount of fire that is in that light that is keeping itself pure, which is the purest of love, which is the purest of light, which is the law of one. So you realize the law of one is here. So now what we do is we can measure everything against what that is by virtue of what everyone else is experiencing, being what they are in energy. Are they experiencing the purity of that light, which is the purity of that love? Are they experiencing that in their own heart and soul? Because if they are, now they're experiencing the one, which is what I am. I experience the purity of that love in my own heart, which is what I have for all of creation. That's a standard. That's the rule. That's one law. So when you apply that to spheres, the law of spheres, and why it's the law of least effort, when you're there, you realize why it is the law of least effort, which is the pathway of least electrical density resistance that others have to experience what love is, as a result of war to begin with. So the easiest way that any universe or any all creation will experience what the law is, which is experience what the one is to eliminate all wars, so that nobody is experiencing any war in their mirror. And that is a free will choice for everybody that has a mirror, because they're aware of what's in their mirror. So I try and keep a perspective on this and realize that a corporation is simply not in the business of giving anybody anything away. It's like Aaron and I, who lives in this house, realized, and I even remember Huna Flash, or Lemurin, give them everything. Because then now they don't need to take anything from anybody else for lack of need. Because once you realize that your internet is free, you don't have to pay for any music, you don't have to pay for any movies, because where do you think they get the energy to produce all this stuff, in which they now sell it to others? Our energy. That's where they get it from. Okay? That's the truth of it. Because anything that is a parasite that requires energy from us in order to make a movie means they're powerless. And the way that I sort of translate this and communicate this is through my own life, because of the nature of my own spirit. And you can see this throughout, if you will, many other friends of mine, Karen Ann McDonald for one, Patty Broussard for another, most of the people that represent Native Indians, if you will, that have gone up on their own videos to share like I have, they're not charging you for the information and the knowledge that's been held throughout ancient records that they have never lost their memory of, if you will, because they know it through their own heart and soul, because that's their soul's spiritual development. They've reached a point where they become aware of who they are from what they've learned through experience, the experiential learning. So killing off teachers that carry with them ancient spiritual knowledge is the worst crime there is, because it starts with learning. I don't know of a worse crime to children than it is to hijack and warp a classroom, any classroom, to kill teachers off so that the universe can live in a state of peace. So to be killing off peacemakers, spiritual teachers, and healers is the worst crime there is, because you know that those that are doing that are going to have to account for their energetic behavior, because they're creating such enormous energetic debts that you got to know that consciousness, a universe of consciousness, a galaxy of consciousness, is going to self-correct itself, because atoms want to be in balance. That is the natural state for self-aware atoms, is to be in a state of balance. And if you're not in balance and you can't get in balance, it is only a matter of time. They live on borrowed time because they can never catch up to zero because of the use in the way that they use their energy to acquire more energy off of us, in which that perpetuates the power that they use against us. And that creates more debt on their part, which is why corporations will always go bankrupt, which is why they pull the little shell game. Okay? They jump, trying to escape. Because they know that what they do, there's going to come a day of reckoning, of accountability for the use of their energy, which is their consciousness, which is their mind's energy, because it's weaponized. Now it doesn't remember the one, because it becomes so traumatized by virtue of having experienced war in its own mirror. I remember one guy said, yeah, I reached over with my hand and I felt nothing but goo. And that was my buddy's head. Ever experienced anything like that? White phosphorus coming down from airplanes? Agent Orange? What that did to peaceful people in the highlands of Vietnam? Okay? The real monsters, just like the monsters on the Midway. Okay? That's why all this light is in here now. It's exposing all of it. And the way that this works, because I'm experiencing it, is they can't help themselves. They can't help exposing themselves through their voice box. To be able to hear, for example, Glenn Beck, a former Fox News contributor, with a guy named Bill O'Reilly. Remember Bill O'Reilly? Okay, on Fox News. At one time, they had reported that his show, which was known as Prime Time, not Primal News, Northeast, West, South, Prime, the Primal Sound Field, they lie. Okay, they invert everything. The language is inverted. That's why they got this guy, Deion Sanders, right, who comes out of Jackson State, who's a black coach, right? Now he goes to the University of Colorado, and what is the narrative? Well, this is a predominantly white school. Remember, this is the invisible landscape. It doesn't matter what you look like. You could have a purple face, a green face, a pink face. It's what you use your energy to do, what you use your energy for in your own mirror. So he has a nickname now. He's called Prime, just like Amazon Prime. See? So they lie about everything because they're all salesmen, which means they need your energy. The primal sound field is giving away free energy. Okay? So now it's all getting exposed. People are waking up to all the programming and all the bullshit. So that means that as more purified light is coming in here, and that is precisely what Glenn Beck said, because I watched him last night for a very short period of time, and he talked about purified. That's code talk. To hear Glenn Beck say that means that he's aware of that. He's now aware. He got the memo. Remember, Mama? They got the memo, Mama. Glenn Beck hooked up with Bill O'Reilly. At one time, they had the highest ratings, which means the salesmen, madmen, right? X-Men, Silicon Valley, all your corporate military garbage, okay? What are they doing? They're echoing. They got the message. They got the message. So it's simple terms, like I've mentioned before, about breaking through their lines of communication. Most people that know anything about signals communication and why they were drowning out mama signals is so that others couldn't experience the repair. See? So in other words, communication is intelligence. Signals intelligence deals with signals. So when you begin to experience through Glenn Beck the codes, that means the light is getting through to them. Okay? So they know it's over. And it really is, as we used to say. Aaron and I used to talk about this. It's a simple calculator. Do you know how to run a simple calculator? Simple math, arithmetic, minus, slash, plus. You know, it's the way it works. You know, it's you're not ever going to put that fire out. And so when you're using your energy in order to gain more power off of others, then it's only a matter of time before the one accounts for itself or accounts for all of creation that we're giving love to, that goes on forever, a self-correction. So if you're going to balance the books and bring accountability back into honor, which means we honor our accounts, because we don't live in a lie, which means we're not in fear of who we are in our own mirror. They are. So in other words, we're the source of energy they feed on. So it's over. They know that. The year of the rabbit, the white rabbit, the light. We are what love is. That's a lot of fire. Okay. Anyway, have a great day. I love you all. The sun's out. Man, is it bright. Thank you, Mama. We love you all.